The sclera comes around and transitions into the cornea. And in your diagram, this is the sclera. It comes around and transitions into the cornea, which is at the front. It's the cornea. We're going to cut the eye open. The outside of the eye has extrinsic muscles, which you don't have to worry about. On the sheep eye itself, this is all sclera, and it gradually transitions into the cornea. This is the cornea. It's a transparent material. It's a cornea right here. That's this right here, cornea. So sclera, cornea. Inside the eye, there are two types of fluid. There's an anterior cavity, which is divided into an anterior chamber, posterior chamber, and a posterior cavity. The anterior cavity is behind your cornea, but in front of the iris. That's front, and that is a very light liquid. It's called aqueous humor. Aqueous humor, it's a liquid. It's like water. It's already mostly evaporated. This material here was aqueous humor. Like that's aqueous humor. Just very liquid. And it adjusts the pressure of the cornea. As I was mentioning in the other group, when you go to optometrists, usually the older technique was put your chin in a device and they blast a little air in your eye and you kind of blink. What that does is it deflects the cornea and determines the pressure of the fluid. It determines whether you have glaucoma. Now, we cut the eye in half, so when we do that, we're also opening up the posterior cavity. And in the posterior cavity, there is a gel. It's not liquid. It's called vitreous humor. It's a gel, and it keeps pressure on the lens. The lens is missing out of this one. The cornea is missing out of this one. But the lens sits back here. The cornea is in front of that. This is the lens. It's kind of parabolic in shape. And this would be an example of the vitreous humor. Here, the vitreous humor, as you see, is still intact. It stays like a bag. It's a jelly. It's different than this aqueous humor, which is in the front. So the lens, this is the lens. This is the lens right here inside. And there are ciliary muscles around the outside with ligaments, and they pull on this. Like in this model, this is the iris. The ciliary muscles would be this black part, and there are little ligaments that come out and attach to the edge of the lens. And so on this lens that we have here, you can see a little black ring around it. Those were the ciliary ligaments, and they pull on this lens, and they cause it to change its shape. So when the light hits it, it bends and then goes in. So it changes that bending effect so it can adjust the focus on the back of the eye. The back of the eye, back here, is where the retina is. Okay. This is the ciliary muscles back here. The iris is the front edge. Ciliary muscles are on the back side of the iris. This is all retina. The retina only comes forward about 3/4 of the way, and it has a lot of photoreceptors in it, and we'll go over that in lecture. And it goes back. It's just laying very gently on the walls. It's like wallpaper, wet wallpaper. In here, we cut the eye in half. Here is the cornea, here is the iris, this is the sclera, and in the back, you can see when I move this very thin little membrane right here is the retina. Now behind that, this colored layer is called the choroid. That's where the vascular tissue is, the choroid layer. So from outside in, it's sclera, choroid, and retina. Okay? If you look at your diagram, it's sclera, choroid, and then the retina. Now the retina is attached only at the edge right here, which is called the ora serrata, right here at the edge of it, and then at the back where it exits the eye. In this one, we've balled up the retina. It's sort of dry there. See, it's moved around. But it's attached at this one spot. See, it won't move away from that spot. That is called the optic disc or blind spot because that's where the nerve exits the eye, so there's no receptors there. And this is the optic nerve right here. The optic nerve, that's what the retina is attached to. And it exits through here. It's the optic nerve. Okay. So what we see here, again, is the vitreous humor behind the lens. This is the lens. The black material around it is the suspensory ligaments. They were attached to the ciliary body. This is the thick part behind the iris. This ridge here are ciliary bodies, or muscles that pull on that lens. If you look at the front here, this is the iris, the front side. And that's what adjusts the pupil. The pupil is the opening right there. This opening right here. And it adjusts it like a light aperture, adjusting the amount of light that can go through the cornea and the lens. So, cornea, anterior chamber. Behind the iris, there's a little posterior chamber, but it's in front of the lens. Both those have the aqueous humor in them. Then the lens is right here, and behind that is the vitreous humor, which fills up the majority of this space of the eye. And it's a thick gel. And it keeps pressure on the lens, so it pushes against the eye and keeps the shape of the eye. The distance from here to here is critical, because if the eye's a little oblong or a little bit oval shape, that creates what are called nearsighted and farsighted, because when the light goes through, it bends and it doesn't refocus. The actual true focus may be back here somewhere instead of right on the screen, or it may be true focus right here, a little bit in front of the screen. This is sort of like the projector screen. So if it's not hitting right on it, it's going to be out of focus. It's just like the projector in the room. If we turn a little bit too much, it's like out of focus, it's too close and it's too far away. So the lens will adjust that, but the eye has to be a certain length. And we'll go over that when we get in the lecture. So, the parts you need to recognize is you need to recognize the optic nerve, the sclera, the retina, the choroid, the ciliary bodies, the iris, the cornea, the lens, the ciliary ligaments or suspensory ligaments. This may be left behind. You probably won't get to see the vitreous because it'll dry out by the time we get. They may have some gel there, put a fresh eye out. This would be the vitreous humor. And in your list, they talk about conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is the soft tissue that's right in the corners of your eye. You can see it. Sometimes it gets infected when you get a pink eye. And the conjunctiva is just the soft tissue out here, outside of the eye, around in the corners. This is the eyelid. And this is the conjunctiva, just soft tissue. That's pretty much it. Okay. Just a matter of you